What's something that happened on a first date that made you decide against a second date? I picked her up and she asked me if we could stop by her mom's house so she could run in and grab something. I said sure. Made the stop. She went inside. 5 minutes later, she comes out hustling towards the car with a car seat and her mom chasing after her yelling. She opens the car door and throws the car seat, which I now see has a baby in it, and starts yelling at me to drive. I freaked and just turned my car off and took the keys out of the ignition. Her mom called the cops and they came and questioned all of us for a good while. Turns out she had lost custody due to drug use and was trying to use me as a way to get her kid back. We never made it to dinner and I just went home after the cops left. Met a girl at a friend's party. We were both in our mid-20s. Ended up spending 3 hours talking, and she was so funny, charming, gorgeous, and carefree. I asked her out and got a wonderful "I would love to" from her. I show up about 4 days later at the restaurant she picked, one within walking distance of her place. She arrived about 5 minutes later. Nice place, I say, as I get her chair for her. Since it's so close, do you eat here often? She scowls and responds, you know, you ask too many questions. I was floored. Everything continued downhill from there. Within about 20 minutes, she just got up and left. I felt as if she had failed to tell me the other night that she had an evil twin, and that's who showed up this evening. Later, when I ran into my buddy, I asked what the heck was up. Oh yeah, he said, she's a piece of work until she gets a few drinks in her. Then she's adorable. Thanks. Thanks a lot, buddy. While we were having lunch we ran into some friend of hers I didn't know, and he stopped to say hi and their brief conversation somehow brought up that she owed the guy a meal because he'd paid for their last lunch together, so she offered to pay for his lunch to square it away and he agreed. He ordered something to go and they told the waitress she'd pay for it, they both said their goodbyes, and the guy left us alone to go wait for his lunch at some other table. So far so good, though their conversation was a bit strange. It did seem like it came up organically. It didn't needlessly drag on, and the guy was nice at all times and also polite enough to make himself scarce as soon as possible instead of inserting himself into our lunch date with the excuse that he was waiting for his food. So we continued our conversation and everything seemed fine, until some time later after the friend had already left and it was time to settle our check, and I realized this girl obviously expected me to pay for the whole thing, including the lunch she offered to pay for her friend as a way to pay him back for the favor he did her. Now, even if the friend hadn't ordered a pretty pricey meal that cost more than the rest of our check put together, and he had done exactly that, it didn't sit well with me how she had shamelessly decided to pay him back with my money in what seemed like a deliberate scam. So I paid for the whole thing in order to avoid making a scene, but later brought it up and told her that it wasn't cool. She made it clear that she saw nothing wrong with it and said I was being cheap and childish, so I thanked her for her honesty and told her we were done and I wasn't going to be calling her again. She tried to argue that I was overreacting, but I held fire and blocked her a couple of days later because she insisted on texting me to convince me that I was wrong and we should go out again. Some people really live in an alternate dimension. This story is always fun to tell. Basically, we got back to her place after dinner and were getting slightly freaky on the couch. As things started escalating, she pulls out a giant glass jar, like the ones with the finger loop thing that pirates put rum in, half full of a clear liquid. My dumbass asked her if it was moonshine or vodka or something. She then proceeds to explain to me that it's pure GHB and that she has a fetish about getting drugged off of it before having sex, and she said that with a completely serious face. For those of you who don't know, GHB is a date rape drug. She then went to the restroom and I noped out of there so fast that I practically levitated off the couch. Never spoke to her again. She showed up drunk to a casual daytime first date at a bar I frequented heavily. Proceeded to order a premium Skinny Rocks margarita and downed it, ordered a second one. Conversation was all over the place. I was pretty much done. I went to the bathroom, came back, she had another margarita being served. She went to the bathroom after that and the bartender, who I was pretty cool with, flat out asked me, "Seavast, bro, is she your date?" When she ordered the third one, I said she needed to slow down. She told me it's okay, you were paying and you'd drive her home. I told him I'm going to bounce. If she doesn't pay her tab, text me and let me know so I can pay it later. He was cool with that. So I left. She did pay her tab. She randomly texted me a few days later and asked if I was doing okay. I did not respond. I met this girl on the apps and we're talking, and she invites me over hours after matching. Alright, sure, things are alright through text. Her mom is there and is fucked up, like mixing painkillers and alcohol fucked up. She's at the table just mumbling and dozing off and asking me fucked up stuff. Then her sister and her BF is there and they're drunk and having a screaming match fight while we're all this just talking and hanging out at the table. All while she's complaining to me that she doesn't get primary custody of her daughter and she lives out of state. So I leave and she asks me about a second date and I tell her, sorry to be blunt, but that was a shit show and I was very uncomfortable and I don't think we'll align. She goes off on how everyone has a crazy mom and how drunk people fight, it's what they do, and how I sound like CPS, and that I was a fucking weirdo because I was uncomfortable with all that was going on. Nothing obvious or overt, but from the minute we sat down to eat, the hair on the back of my neck stood up and I felt unsafe. He was polite, listened, very polished, but could not shake that feeling. I drove to the restaurant to meet, so he did not know where I lived. After dinner, he asked for another date and I just said no, I don't think we are a good match. Gave him money to pay for my half, said goodbye when I got to the door, turned around and he was staring at me with an expression I never hope to see again. I ran to my car, moved it to another spot, and waited until he left before I left so he could not follow. Restaurant was on an isolated road, so that was safer than having him catch up to me. Found out about a year later, he was sent to prison for the assault and rape of 2 different women. It happened on first dates.